Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the discussion panel on the sustainable future home. I'm your moderator, Rachel Armstrong, Professor of Experimental Architecture from Newcastle University, and with me is an amazing panel of guests, Pierre-André de Chalendar from Saint-Gobain, France, Glen Finkel, who is the co-founder of 4 clean tech firms, and Chris Hulatt, who's the founder of the Octopus Group. This panel will really be discussing about issues related to the future home and sustainability. We've all been in lockdown. We've all become extremely familiar with our homes. And we're now going to discuss aspects of what do we mean by a home and how are they going to evolve in the near future. And we're going to start off with the first question, which is, what does the panel understand by the idea of a home? Has the ongoing pandemic changed our perceptions? Chris, would you like to respond to that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And good afternoon. And it's good to see everyone on the call today. I think our view of a home has really changed so significantly over the past year. You think back to last January or February, we're all going into the office in the normal kind of fashion. And yet here we are, I've spent 10 months sitting at this desk, staring out of my window at the same hedge day after day. So our needs from a home have really changed enormously. My children have been doing homeschooling for months. We never envisaged our home was going to be used in this way. So I think for millions of people around the world, their perception of what a home is all about has changed fundamentally. But I also think there's going to be a lasting impact in terms of where we may need to live. I'm talking to you today from 30 miles outside London because I used to travel into the city every day. In a future world, once our offices reopen fully, are we going to be in the office 5 days a week or not? I think where we may choose to live is going to be impacted by the requirement for travel. And I think that's going to be one of the lasting changes. And the geopolitical impact of how we use our cities, I think, is going to be one of the lasting themes from this pandemic.
Yeah, thank you. Glen, do you see the role of the home, reaching a tipping point perhaps with the pandemic, or do you see an expansion or a change of concept?
Thank you, Dr. Armstrong, and great thanks to the teams at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week and Masdar for hosting and organizing this event. Yes, I think absolutely that this moment in time is going to have a profound impact. A home is a place that goes beyond meeting our needs for physical needs for shelter. A home is a place that helps us address our psychological needs, our social needs, our self-esteem needs. My first career, I was a clinical psychologist, so I use Maslow's hierarchy of needs in evaluating questions like this. And COVID has forced a serious refocusing back onto our basic needs for safety and security. At the same time, just as absence makes the heart grow fonder, it's made our yearning for psychological, social, and community all that much greater. So I'm hoping that this is the pause that refreshes, and that as we emerge from this moment, we will look more closely for those for the home to meet those needs outside of physical and security.
Fantastic. Pierre-André, do you think the concept of home is changing?
Yes, it is, but I would like to echo what Glen just said. You know, in Saint-Gobain we are manufacturing building materials, but our purpose is making the world a better home. So we are at the heart of your question, and we are using the word home and not the word house because we are building materials, so it could be physical. Because I think home is a key word, and we are all taking that. It's a fundamental need since the dawn of humankind, and it's compared to a house. It's an harmonious interplay of material and emotional components. the fact that there are two words in English, I think, is very interesting. And so for us, we are a building material producer. We are a world leader in glass, in insulation, in plasterboard, in all these materials. But all that is driven by the idea to bring well-being and sustainability, which are the two words, in my view, which are reinforced by this crisis. So I think your word is very important, and for a company like Saint-Gobain, it's at the heart of what we do.
Fantastic. And all of you, I mean, are working on really the cutting edge of technology and materials. And I just really wanted to ask each of you, from your perspectives, what are the main trends? What are the changes in technologies, and also the building programs, that we're seeing within the home that may be expanding the kinds of things that we're expecting of our homes? Chris, I'll start with you again.
Thank you. Well, to me, the key trend is sustainability. That is what connects so much of this. Power generation has decarbonised so significantly over the past decade. That is what Octopus has been heavily involved with throughout that time. We've built solar and wind farms in about 8 or 9 countries around Europe. So we've seen how far that has come. But homes are now still 22% of emissions in the UK, and that needs to change very, very significantly. It's going to be a big feature of COP26, how you drive that kind of change. So I think people realise increasingly they need to make their homes more energy efficient. Many of the points I'll make in this panel today are very much from the UK standpoint, but I think they've got applicability to many countries. Certainly here, we need to be getting people to do the basics. They need to be insulating their homes better. But really, technology is what's got a key role to play now. We need to help people migrate away from traditional technology, from using gas boilers, things like that. They've got to move towards heat pumps. Homes have got to be integrated into the energy system. We've got to be building homes that can link in with things like electric vehicle charging. That shouldn't be something that you raise your eyebrow at and think that looks unusual when you see it. That just has to become the norm, and that has to happen so quickly. And then it needs to be all about linking the systems together. As renewables become the key source of power generation, how you consume that power has to be something that links with the household. Consumption has to be able to be flexed up and down in a very digital, very smart kind of way. So we have to be building homes that can accommodate those kinds of trends.
Fantastic. And Glen, what are the major trends that your companies, or your different companies, are seeing?
Yeah, so I've been commercializing technologies that reverse pollution for the last 20 years, breakthrough technologies. It started with clean air, then we went to clean energy, clean water, and most recently clean indoor farming. And we're seeing finally material technologies like nanomaterials tech and bioregenerative materials finally catching up to the incredible advances we've seen and we're used to in IT, AI, robotics, and biotech. And it's going to make wonderful, meaningful difference in the home in the near future. Take clean air, for example. It's a hot topic today, given that COVID is a respiratory disease transmitted by an airborne virus. I had asthma as a child. All 3 of my children had life-threatening asthma. It's been a hot topic, clean air. It's been a hot topic for me my whole life. 20 years ago, I came across the science of photocatalysis and the power of light to transform treated surfaces into self-cleaning bioprotective air purifiers. I became transfixed with the idea of delivering hospital-grade, clean room quality, pure air to any room, anywhere. And for 19 years, we tried, but we mostly failed. Clean air, nobody cared, and the technology to cost-effectively measure and deliver clean air was just not robust enough. You can't manage what you can't measure. The tools to measure indoor air quality were just too complicated and too expensive to be widely used. Our coatings were great, world's best according to NASA and iScape, but they need UVA light inside the home. That only happened at the window. Today, everything's changed for the better because of these advances in materials. Now the world cares about clean air. We now have nanosensors that can precisely measure it. We can check indoor air quality from our smartphones, just like we check the weather. This is a reality now, and it's coming soon to our homes. We have energy-saving lights that can activate our materials inside the home to purify the air. So we can cost-effectively deliver hospital-grade, clean room quality, pristine, pure air to any room, anywhere, and pay for most of it through energy savings. So we're now installing with this program we call HOPE, H-O-P-E, Health Optimizing Photocatalytic Ecosystems. They're going into hospitals, schools, offices, and next year they'll start going into homes. This change is made possible by material advances.
That's absolutely amazing. Pierre-André, what are the major trends that you're seeing, and are we actually seeing a kind of maybe a convergence of different technologies?
Exactly, and that's very interesting because I am, starting with the history of Saint-Gobain. We start from a different premise, from different premises that my colleagues, but in fact, I would say the same thing that they have just said. There is a convergence for us. It's the trend is to combine performance and sustainability. And when I talk about sustainability, it's both, the environmental aspects, but it's also the well-being, the comfort of the users. And the trend is convergence between materials and technologies at all what we do. We don't sell only one product now. We combine group systems. And I am happy to report two interesting programs we are doing at the moment in the Emirates. So I think they are worth mentioning as we are virtually in Abu Dhabi today. One is about schools, and that's a program we do in conjunction with the Emirates Green Building Council. And it's to do more or less what Glen was talking about, when you are trying to understand what it's about indoor environmental quality. And when we look at to improve a school, you need to work both on the insulation, of course, but not thermal only, also acoustic, the air quality. It's very interesting to know, for instance, if you improve the acoustic of a school, you improve very much the educational performance. So it's working on a holistic approach to improve the home. The second program is about deep retrofitting. So that's, and our core competence has been historically on insulation, core retrofitting of a program for the a few governments building in Abu Dhabi. So I think, everywhere in the world, and as we are in Abu Dhabi today, I'm happy to talk about these programs. The idea is to have a comprehensive and holistic approach about what you call home. I think the technologies and the materials are converging deeply today.
Thank you so much for that. And what's exciting is that this is really generating new opportunities for us to inhabit our homes. And again, I'd like to ask the panel, are there new roles, new functions of the home that maybe go beyond the individual and the family unit? And help us with the bigger issues of climate change. Chris, can I start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the community has a really big role to play in this. Traditionally, power generation was very much done on a centralized basis. It's now all becoming highly decentralized. Within Octopus, we have an energy business, Octopus Energy, that supplies 2 million households in the UK with renewable energy. That is what people want nowadays. But I think the next evolution will be to be generating this power very much on a local kind of basis. It could be a solar farm built next to a village or a town. And there will be opportunities for local people to be involved in this, whether it's through helping to identify the right location to build the site. There'll be opportunities for local people to get involved in the ownership of power generation of this type, and then to make sure that it's directly integrated into their local community. So I think this will help deliver a greener, more flexible, lower cost energy system, which local people can feel connected to in a way that they just don't feel connected to the energy system at the moment.
Thank you. Glen, do you see new roles for the homeowner emerging?
Yes, most definitely. Many believe that the 21st century will come to be known as the century of biology, the century of biomimetics and harmonizing with nature. At the same time, we're moving towards the decentralization of energy production, food production, air purification, and water purification. And these trends are related. So science is revealing more and more about how trees and fungi form and join larger communities for mutual protection and enhanced growth, literally from the ground up. And we'll start to see this type of organic evolution in the technologies transforming our homes and helping our homes transform our communities. The motto of our water company is helping nature restore balance. And we think the home will become the anchor point for that restoration. We launched our business initially with our water company, focusing on healing large open bodies of foul water. And we're off to a great start. We can clean up harmful algae blooms, agricultural wastewater, etc. But within 3 to 5 years, this all natural tech will be at work in homes and businesses in closed loop systems that collect rainwater and combine it with pure water that's been naturally filtered out from gray water and black water. And this will all feed up the waste chain in the community for a healthier environment. We can actually begin to achieve net zero, not just in energy, but in water as well. And this comes by the sharing within communities.
Fantastic. That's so inspiring. And Pierre-André, do you see a change in the importance of the home within civic and kind of global society?
Yeah, well, it's clear that, that the COVID from that standpoint is an eye-opener. And we know that there are many things that are being done in individual homes, schooling, working. At the same time, offices are also changing. You do more things in the office than you used to do. So for me, being in building materials, the key evolution I see is modularity. We need to have with our light building partitioning, plasterboard it's much easier than we're using the old bricks to do that. I think that modularity is a concept which is really growing, and in terms of the physical aspect of the home, and then you have all the things that have been talked about. But for us, I think it's a key point is modularity.
Thank you. So what I want to move on to now is, these fantastic things that are happening. What's stopping us from, realizing the sustainable home of the future? I'll just go around the panelists. Chris, what do you think the major roadblocks are, and how might we overcome them?
Well, I think one of the real problems is we need to quickly stop doing things that are going to add to the problem. So we need to make sure we're not building homes that are not already purpose-built to be net zero. We need to get there as quickly as possible. Building homes now in the UK, they're going to need to be retrofitted in 3-5 years' time. Just seems crazy. So we need the solutions to drive that change as quickly as possible. We would also, though, like to see much quicker adoption of technologies that allow people to integrate their consumption of energy into a system that is going to be compatible with that drive to net zero. So, for example, encouraging people to shift their consumption pattern of energy, things like when they turn on their electric vehicle charging, when they turn on their washing machine, using price signals to change consumer behavior is going to be really key to allow a system where household energy consumption is compatible with a very high level of renewables. We've seen that directly ourselves with a tariff that is linked every 30 minutes to the wholesale price. In trials we've done, you can really shift consumption patterns in a way that I think is going to be critical. So encouraging households to understand how they use energy, to me, is going to be one of the keys to this drive to sustainability.
Fantastic. Thank you. Glen, do you see which roadblocks are, kind of the most obstructive, and how we might possibly overcome them?
Stubborn optimism is my approach. From my perspective, the biggest roadblock to innovation is mindset. It's resistance to change, who moved my cheese, and the resting inertia of entrenched interests. Chris certainly sees that in the energy business. The large utilities don't want to change their rules to allow for appreciation of local production. The precautionary principle is a wonderful principle. Like the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. But so many people are taking it way too far, and using it as a barrier to innovation, and all of that fear, overreaction is blocking innovation. So, from my perspective, these are the two main issues: the resting inertia of entrenched interests, and the mindset that resists change. And the only way is just stubbornly keep going.
Fantastic, thank you. Pierre-André, where do you find the greatest roadblocks presented for your company?
Yeah, I see also two roadblocks, but I will phrase a little bit differently what just Glen said, because when you build to last. So there is a conservatism, which is probably more easy to understand than in other areas. That doesn't mean that we should not fight it, but it's understandable. The construction industry has been historically very conservative. You have your insurance, you know, in France, for instance, the architect is responsible for 10 years. So this is make change a little slower than in other industry. The other point for me is the fragmentation of the value chain in the construction industry. Between a building material producer and you building a home, you know, you have the architect, the designer, the contractor, the distributor of materials. So you have regulations. So you have many people involved, and reconcile, you know, between the end user and all this chain is not easy. And I think that's not helping change. You know, so it's. I think this is. Those are the two things I would mention.
Fantastic. And you know, if we could remove all these roadblocks, what I'd like to ask you all now is, what is your prediction for the home of the near future? So, Chris, would you like to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, a fascinating kind of question and challenge as to what will the world really look like and what are going to be the key issues. I guess maybe I'd pose 3 or 4 thoughts around that. First, I think the location of where people are going to want to live is going to change, with implications for city centres. I already get questions regularly from members of staff at Octopus around, can they go and live abroad? Can they work remotely for, 19 days out of 20 and come to London very, very occasionally? Such a transition to the world we used to live in. What's that going to mean for housing and for the need for the sort of homes of the future? People clearly are going to want highly energy efficient homes. I think there's a role for government and for finance providers such as Octopus to make that transition as quick and as efficient as possible and totally dynamic. And I think homes also need to be affordable for far too many young people in major economies nowadays. They can't afford to get on the housing ladder, and that is such a transition from generations of the past. And I think this is going to be a real societal problem unless governments find solutions to this. So I think building housing that gives young people something that really meets their needs is going to be absolutely critical.
Fantastic, thank you. And Glen, what's your prediction for the home of the near future?
Well, this question gave me a great pause. When I was 12 years old, I went to the New York World's Fair where we had the House of the Future. And I went every week because my grandfather invented the rabbit ear antenna, and my father built it into a business. We had the antenna on the House of the Future. They didn't foresee cable TV or Wi-Fi or any of it. So predictions like this are dangerous. But I see trends for the sustainable home. Triple net zero. It's not going to be within 5 years. It might take 10, 15, but homes will be net zero energy, waste, and water. They'll be bio-based. More and more, we're going to see bioregenerative building materials. Petroleum-based plastic will be a thing of the past, and I think indoor farming as part of that bio-based will be coming more and more to the forefront. We need to grow our food where we live, and more we'll start doing that in the home. And collectively, they'll be integrative, they'll be intuitive, and hopefully they'll be inspiring. Because a lot of the basic needs will be met. So the homes will need to meet our physical, our psychological, social, and community needs.
Fantastic. Pierre-André, what is your prediction for the home of the near future?
Well, the first thing I want to say, your theme is very popular at the moment. You know, I don't want to brag because we have to stay humble in this pandemic. But if I take the activity of Saint-Gobain over the last 6 months is brilliant because they have spent time in their home, they want to work on it. So the renovation activity in most countries at the moment is brilliant. So that means that the themes and people are doing, you know, what my 2 colleagues and I have been talking about. So that's a very positive. The other point I want to say, this has been already mentioned, and for me it's also an answer to the fragmentation I was talking about, is that digital is coming into the home. It's a way to reconcile, to make people work more closely all together to find solutions. So I think, you know, digital, which is a major trend out of this pandemic, is growing, is also coming into this conservative world, which is construction industry and building homes. So I think this is very positive, and I am quite optimistic.
That's fantastic. Well, I must admit, you've all given us amazing insights into the actual, developments, technologies, building programs that are happening right now. It's a fascinating discussion, and you've given us plenty to think and dream about. So I want to wish you all, stay safe, and we're really looking forward to what you guys do with the sustainable home of the future. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.